right, welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors. Today we are going to do another gear dump video. This is another operative that was caught. You may have seen my previous video about Raymond Davis, who was caught in Pakistan, in Lahore, and they went through his gear and kind of displayed that out, unveiling the items that he had with him. Similarly, back in 2002, a case officer by the name of Ryan Fogle, working for the CIA, was caught by the FSB. He was in the middle of a recruitment meeting, and he had with him a letter of recruitment, and that got him very quickly detained and arrested and taken out, and that was a huge embarrassment for Moscow Station at the time. One of the things that was kind of funny was that he was caught wearing a blonde wig, so they called him in the newspapers James Blonde as a kind of a joke. So his gear that he had with him that the FSB had taken out of the backpack and kind of laid out on the table was pretty small. He had just a small backpack, and then with that he was wearing a wig, and he had two additional wigs. I don't have a second wig, otherwise I'd show you, but I do have a baseball cap that's kind of filling in for there. And then with that, he had some sunglasses and eyeglasses. So this was to kind of keep him protected as he was doing his surveillance detection route, or SDR. If you're curious about how to perform or learn about SDRs, we have a very long article about that. I think it's two parts. And we also have a 4-part series on disguises and disguise work. So if you're curious about that, we did a video on disguise work as well. So certainly that's an important part of the SDR. A lot of case officers don't carry wigs or use wigs. That's a little overblown. Not sure if he was wearing wigs specifically because he was in Moscow and in that kind of denied area. I'm not sure, but I do know that a lot of people don't rely on wigs out in the field. So what other things that he had with him was a map of Moscow, and then he did have a small base plate compass, which I thought was interesting. He had a cell phone with an earpiece. This was pre-smartphones. Not that he'd probably want to have a smartphone with him in this particular case. He had a notebook and pen with him, and then he also had cash. He had some other things. I'm sure maybe there were credentials or business cards, things like that, pocket litter in his pocket. And then he did have a Swiss Army knife with an LED light on it. He had a cigarette lighter, Maglite flashlight, and then a tactical folding knife. The one thing that I don't have here that's filling in for that is this small flashlight that I'm using this flashlight to fill in was bear spray, it looked like, or mace or pepper spray or something like that. So he had a big canister of what looked like bear spray. One of the things I think a lot of people assume is that all case officers, or many case officers, carry a firearm, and that's just not the case. Many of them aren't even issued a firearm. Some are issued but don't carry them with them. And in reality, I think for most international travel in general, a firearm is just more of a pain in the butt than it is going to be helpful to you. You want to rely on your kind of cunning and ability to kind of outthink your adversary and not get caught. I think that's important. There's a great quote from legendary case officer Bob Baer, and he said the gun is the unmistakable credential for the insecure. And I think that that's just a fantastic quote, and that's something that should be used more often in our society today. That we unfortunately use a firearm as a crutch. We use it as a means to not be physically prepared and physically fit. We use it as a crutch to repel any kind of potential danger, so we don't have to think ahead. We use it as a crutch in so many different ways. It's become ubiquitous in many ways across the nation, concealed carry, but people just assume that it's going to make you safer. And it really, in the end, I don't think it really necessarily does. In fact, statistically, a firearm in a household makes a household less safe than it does more safe, which is kind of an interesting statistic. So, if you're interested in this, we do have a blog post that was done last year that talks about this, and it has a list of what he had with him. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.